down to Biscayne.
Yikes. 5 on the floor, ride for my dogs. Where here's the thing, you can check the score. Hustle hard, couple scars, wearing bubble frogs. Just like Butler said, you in trouble, y'all. Kept the flow playing, got it all band. Y'all seen the block, stop with one hand. And Pat we trust, it's power, have the guts. We're here to bring the heat, y'all can hang it up.
Welcome to 5 on the Floor, a daily insider show on the Miami Heat and the NBA, featuring Ethan Skolnick, Greg Sylvander, and Alex Toledo, plus others from the 5 Reasons Sports Network.
Welcome back to the latest episode of 5 on the Floor Live. I come to you directly after the heartbreaking defeat to the Brooklyn Nets that the Miami Heat just had on their home floor. Hello, I'm Greg Sylvander. Tonight's floor plan with me, we have Sean Rochester, back on the program after a while, S Rochester NBA on Twitter. We also have Brian Fonseca. He's been off for a while too, it feels like. You can find him on Twitter as well. The handle is right there, Brian Fonseca NY. And a very special guest to the program, a voice that you will be very familiar with, the host of easily the most funny, creative Miami Heat programming around, in my opinion. Hangover Time from Miami Heat Beat, Alphonse Sidney, Alf954, however you know him. Welcome to the program as well, my homeboy.
Don't talk to me.
All right. See, I was trying to come in lighthearted because Alf is joining. It's always a good occasion when he's here. But yeah, it's rough, and we're going to talk about it. But first, I want to shout out a sponsor, and that is Aggressive Insurance. Lynette may be in the comments, so I want to make sure that we could at least put a smile on her face. They are an insurance broker agency that's been servicing South Florida for over 15 years. They offer auto, homeowners, condo insurance, life insurance too, retirement programs, free notary service to all clients. That can come in super handy. They represent every leading insurance carrier in South Florida. So if you ever have a bad driving record, no problem. No driver is refused. Free phone quotes. You want to go to insurancebylynette.com. That's with 2 N's, 2 T's. She's on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. She's probably in these comments, as I mentioned, 954-581-8800, 954-581-8800. That's Aggressive Insurance. Check out insurancebylynette.com. All right. I can't fake it anymore, y'all. This was gut-wrenching. Like, we're going to talk about the whole game, but I just want to talk about the last sequence for a minute. Jimmy gets fouled. I don't care what anyone says. He got fouled. That's that. I'm not having that conversation. At least from my perspective, he got fouled. He got a body block. Tyler Hero had a bad, weird-looking thing that happened there at the end. He looked like he was in pain. I hope he's fine. It didn't look great to me, but who the hell am I? So that is also weird because to compound all that, Bam Adebayo already wasn't finishing the game because he obviously is feeling the effects of the DeAndre Ayton knee to the back of the leg. That's what I guess is really ailing him now. And then they lose this game that they had. They had this game multiple times. They felt like they could have put it away and they didn't. Alf, since you're joining us, I would like to get your perspective first. Let's just do some quick read and react from everybody. What the hell did you just witness, and how the hell are you feeling about it?
I'm not like, I'm crushed as a fan, but it's not like I'm upset. Like, I see people in the comments like, you have to find a way to win. I mean, they did. Like, they literally found a way to win, right? That with the crazy Royce O'Neal offensive rebound, notwithstanding, you get what you want. You get Jimmy Butler at the rim. Royce O'Neal, comes out of nowhere like Javon Holland, takes his ass out, and we don't get a foul call. I mean, it is what it is. You know, it was kind of a bummer, to see KD go down, to watch Bam not be himself. I mean, at one point he was a -20, while Orlando Robinson was a +25. What my biggest takeaway is, the Heat, when they are engaged and they are playing a quality opponent, they get to a different level, and we've seen it time and time again. But they also will drop to the level of opponent, so they meet their opponents where they are. But I'm not going to say I feel great after the game, but they had a chance to pull one out against the hottest team in the league right now. They were totally hosed, and you just walk away and say, hey, That's NBA officiating at its best. EADAD.
Damn. Yeah, it does. That didn't make me feel any better at all. So we're gonna try. But I do appreciate the fact that you are keeping perspective in this moment. It's just the way that it ended with Tyler's like now we just have a lot of I guess question marks, and that's where I leave this game with not understanding exactly how Adebayo's health is. Now Tyler Hero will be a question mark. So it's just, and then to your point too, Alf, about KD going down, like that sucks as well. But I will say there were signs here, right? Sean, they shot 37% from three. I don't think you've joined a single damn show all year where they've shot 37% from three. And this may be the only one that you're on all year, considering the track record. What did you see that you liked? Particularly, I want to kind of hone in on before Hero got injured, the Depot Hero stuff. I feel like that has legs that we should be monitoring in terms of a backcourt that can close, that can play together, that can be a two-man unit that complements each other. And I don't think we all ever expected that. Like, I think a lot of people almost started to write off the idea of Tyler and Depot being able to coexist even to a degree. So what did you like that you saw from those two guys tonight?
Yeah, talking about those two guys, early on, Victor Oladipo was making threes, no hesitation, hit those first two, and then obviously didn't shoot it well from there. I don't actually think he made a shot the rest of the way. I think he finished 2 for 10, 2 of 7 behind the arc, but he really shifted his game, and I think that's a good sign in terms of making things work, that early on he was able to shoot and score. As the game went on, he was creating. He was getting downhill, getting to the rim. We know that's a hard thing for this team. He finished with, I believe, 6 assists. And then on the flip side, Tyler Hero early on, it looked like he was really struggling with the length that Brooklyn has. And that gave a lot of our guards trouble. And early on, he was struggling with the length, and then he kind of figured it out and then had a pretty good scoring game, obviously finishing with 24 points and made 5 threes. So I think those two can coexist. I thought, I think Kyle obviously was limited. I think he had some good stretches tonight, took a couple charges, made some good passes, but we're just continuing to lower the bar and expectations for him to make it sound like he's doing well. Like, I felt like he was okay, but we didn't pay him to be okay. We paid him to be much more than what he's giving us. But the Victor and Tyler pairing, very encouraging. And I think Gabe is starting to get it back too also.
Yeah, and Oladipo also with 3 steals. The defense seems to continue to be there. That effort, that energy, that stuff is going nowhere. So even in a 2 of 10 night, I thought to your point, he did have his moments as well. Max coming back and getting 2 out of 3. We want to continue to see him start to shoot well, because he may be the only hope they have in terms of a sharpshooter until Duncan gets back. I guess let's kind of shift to this whole Bam situation, Brian, because he wasn't playing well to start. I kind of wrote off the first half, and then obviously he didn't really have much of a second half. But then we started to see that, surprise, y'all, Dwayne Dedmon didn't get a minute, and I think we're all happy about that. But Orlando Robinson got extended run. 19 minutes in a game like this one, to me, is extended run. Closed the game. So as you look at the front court specifically with Bam, what did they do well against him? I mean, I kind of was trying to figure out if it was Claxton, but I don't think that was it. I think he just kind of had an off night shooting. That was how I walked away from it. In terms of some bunnies just not going in, but I'm interested to hear as you, I know that you're always not one to trash Bam Adebayo, but since he had a bad game, talk about it.
Yeah, I don't think it was all Claxton. I just think, it was just straight up good team defense. And then he also just didn't really have it going. And sometimes that happens. In Brooklyn, part of why they've been playing so well lately is because they've committed to the defensive end in a way that they didn't under Steve Nash. And they've just been playing better team defense overall, which is why people are starting to get the idea that Nick Claxton is suddenly some defensive player of the year candidate, which he may or may not be, but I refuse to engage in such conversation in January. I would say that with Bam, look, he probably gets that rebound that Royce O'Neal got at the end of the game, and we're having a different conversation right now. Right? Like it's just little shit like that as I'm watching the game down the stretch. And Orlando Robinson, I mean, people want to talk about Bam and quote unquote lack of aggression, which has not been a talking point this season, but I don't think he would stumble with the ball at the end of the game the way Orlando Robinson did in a crucial moment in the fourth quarter, very late, Greg, where they could have won that game and needed those buckets. That being said, like, Durant's not there, so you feel like this is an opportunity for the Heat to pull this one out, and Bam Adebayo's not there, so good luck with that, because they better hope that he doesn't miss any extended run. I don't think that's going to be the case, but you see what this team looks like without him, and for an extended period is something that they just straight up can't afford, especially this season, right? We've talked all season about like the minutes with him not there. You cannot have a stretch, and this is why they need to do something, right? Like if you're going to actually compete, I don't know, compete on what level. That's a macro conversation that's not for a post-game show. That's for an off-day pod. But like we're exactly halfway through the season now. They're 21-20. And you better hope that Tyler Hero and Bam Adebayo are healthy, especially considering that January 15th is in a few days. And we're going to be talking about the trade deadline, because guess what's 1 month from tomorrow? And now is a time where you're going to start to really like look at legitimate changes, like not the fan trade machine shit that everybody's been shopping around and trying to, why don't they get this for absolutely nothing? And why don't they flip Gabe Vincent and somehow get Shai Gilgeous-Alexander? No, like real shit's about to start happening around the league very, very soon. And they're going to take part in that in some way. And one of those ways is to hopefully get bigger, because the non-Bam minutes just killed them. And today Orlando Robinson tried. And to Al's point, for whatever reason, his plus minus was really good. But at the same time, like Orlando Robinson, you're going to depend on him for a lengthy stretch if Bam is out, heaven forbid. So, yeah, there's a lot there.
Yeah, we got to be careful with the box plus minus stuff. But I will say that there were moments that I thought Orlando Robinson competed. He's still a little clumsy at times, but he's trying to get his NBA sea legs. So I do get that. We're going to dive into I want to go, micro into this last play of the game a little bit more, and then just look ahead. Maybe we'll take a couple more dribbles through this game. This one hurts so bad because I really thought that they had this one, and it's just we're having this conversation over and over again. But before we dive into any of that other stuff, and I continue to exude negative emotions on this podcast and live show, let me shout out another sponsor, and that is Prize Picks, the best daily fantasy platform, in my opinion, on the market. I play it every day. Prize Picks, use the code 5 FIVE. That'll get your initial deposit matched up to $100. Prizepicks.com. So they have a great desktop application or platform, but also you can get it right on your phone. You choose the overs and the unders on your favorite players, on your favorite teams, in your favorite sports. You can put up to 6 players on one card, do flex plays, power plays, win up to 10 times your money, but you got to use the code 5 and you got to deposit to get that deposit matched up to $100. So check out Prize Picks. Yep. I did not get in a prize pick for tonight, so I'm not going to wax poetic about how I did or did not win any cash tonight on Prize Picks. Haywood Highsmith probably only scored in the first quarter, Alf. That was a weird first quarter by Haywood Highsmith. He felt like he was getting kind of the business handed to him by KD, but yet he still ended up scoring. And then the rest of the game, he was kind of non-existent. It felt like, what the hell do they need in the front court? Like, I hate to just pivot away from this game too much. That's why I was stumbling through that last transition. But I really kind of think we need to start thinking about what exactly is missing from this team. And I'm just interested because we haven't heard from you. I've heard from all these guys all year about what they think that they need. What the hell do you think that this team needs that they don't have now?
They need size, which, I mean, that's obvious, right? I don't mind Caleb, right? The problem is I feel like Caleb's playing out of place. He should be, spark off the bench like he was last season, but he's been like really, really good with the starting lineup. So I don't even know what to do with that. But part of the problem is there's no backfill there. There's no reinforcements. When you see a night like this, when Caleb's out, Highsmith plays. Highsmith's whatever. If you follow me on Twitter, you know how I feel about Haywood Highsmith. Like, if you're a good team, Haywood Highsmith should play 12 minutes every third game. Like, he should not be starting for you. He should not be relied on. He should not be in the closing lineup. If you're a good team, Haywood Highsmith has nothing to do with your success or failures, right? So that's what's happening when because Caleb hasn't really been healthy all year long. So we're getting a lot of Haywood Highsmith. So what they need is a 4, some size. For the love of God, somebody over 6'8", somebody who's a threat to score on offense, because like you see these minutes with Haywood Highsmith out there, nobody's guarding Haywood Highsmith. Nobody. It's
Nope.
4. It's 5-on-4 out there. Nobody cares if he makes 5 threes, he will be open for the 6th. I promise you. When he gets the ball, he can't really do anything with it. A lot of times, like he's throwing it off somebody's foot. He's not the answer there. So, okay, enough Hamish bashing. So what they need is they need a 4, a scoring threat, somebody who could stretch the floor a little bit to create space for Bam, and somebody who the defense respects. Like, so they respect Caleb, the defense now. They're finally starting to see this guy shot 40% from 3 over a significant sample size. You have to guard Caleb, and it's helping. But the problem is, you're still small. Like, and which is the funniest thing to me about the Heat is you're small and slow. Like, it's not supposed to work that way. If you're small, you're supposed to be picking up the pace. They're small and they're slow and plodding. So if you're going to be slow and plodding, get yourself another 6'8", 6'9", 6'10" power forward. I like John Collins. I know a lot of people don't. They point to his contract. I hate contract talk. Stay out of other people's wallets. Stay out of mine. I'll stay out of yours. Like, I think a guy like John Collins, he's not a great 3-point shooter, but sometimes with Bam, all you need is a willing 3-point shooter. You don't in somebody that the defense respects. So, like, John Collins to me is a kind of big, the kind of 4 that they need going forward.
Nah, I'm with you on a lot of that, and it's funny though, as you're describing what they need. It was PJ Tucker last year, and it's not PJ Tucker this year. I mean, you see the shot profile of him, and he's just in the corners. They're not utilizing him at all the way that Spo utilized PJ. So it'll be interesting to see how they fill that position, because they kind of need to get a shooter and a big all wrapped in one. And that obviously isn't easy and sometimes can be costly. So that'll be an interesting thing to see.
Jimmy and Bam present a challenge, right? Your 2 best players, one wing and your center, both occupy basically the same place on offense.
Yeah.
Like, they occupy, like, people are like, yo, you can play another big with Bam. Sure, if Jimmy Butler wasn't your star player, like if you had a Devin Booker type, yeah, maybe you could play another legitimate big. The problem with playing another big with Bam is Jimmy's there too. So now you're gonna have 3 guys who can't shoot in the
running
lane,
into each other.
Yeah, like, it doesn't make, like, I mean, it's 2023. Spacing is a thing. So, like, that's the challenge there. That's why you have to find that's why Jake Crowder fits so well. Kelly Olynyk fits so well. Like, PJ Tucker last year fits so well. Like, there's a certain prototypical type of guy that plays well with those two, and they're going to have to find it if they want to really make a push.
So we're getting some tweets directly from the arena from Ethan, Brady, and Alex. I just want to give all of our listeners and viewers a quick recap of some of those. Eric Spolstra says Bam's hand x-rays were clean. He's going to be sore. We will see how sore tomorrow. Jock Bond says Kevin Durant will get an MRI on his right knee tomorrow. And then on Tyler Hero, he says he's okay, but we won't know until tomorrow. So I don't know what that means, if there's swelling or what's happening there. Also, he mentioned Jimmy made the absolute right play. I think that in this game, he could have had 6 or 8 more free throw attempts. I definitely agree with that as well. So, Sean, we're looking at the rest of this homestand. It's OKC and it's Milwaukee twice. They're slow. As Al said, they're slow and they're not big either. And like this is the type of thing, like this exact game is the one that you can't let slip, because with the 2 home games against Milwaukee, you're likely to drop one of those 2. So like that makes those 2 games like you almost got to expect a split. Try to make me feel better about this particular one, because I feel like this was such a wasted opportunity. Maybe I'm overreacting tonight. It just felt like this was a game that they could have totally had. Kyle Lowry is continuing to not play well. I don't really know what to say about that. I'm kind of at a loss for words at the exact moment. I was trying to search for tweets, so I'm distracted. Sean, take me home.
Yeah, I mean, I know we've talked a lot about the free throw that we didn't get at the end, and I think we all agree that he probably should have gotten 2 free throws. we should probably point out the fact that we missed 5 free throws, 3 from Bam, 2 from Jimmy. Those are great free throw shooters. You make one of those. I know the game changes as time goes on, but you can't miss those free throws. You have to make those shots. You got to make 80, 85 when those guys are getting the big chunk of them. And, we had a stretch in the fourth quarter. I'd like to rewatch it, but like mid fourth quarter where we just started kind of getting out of our game tonight. Our offensive possessions went to crap. Our defensive transition stuff, when Vic was out, that went to crap. They were getting to the rim. We just definitely let one slip. And when you're having a season like this, these are the ones that hurt you the most, I feel like, because you could have gotten a win. It's kind of almost a statement win. Nothing's changing. No one's going to crown us tonight, beating the Nets without KD and et cetera, but this would have been a really good win. And unfortunately, we were one play short.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's what it was, right? 9-4 in the last 13, and then they lose this one to Brooklyn. If they had just grabbed this one, I feel like then you get the OKC win, and you're starting to rev up the engine in terms of getting some momentum. But then you have this Bam stuff at the end of this game, Tyler Hero going down, the uncertainty moving forward with an already thin crew. But I will say that I like the idea of less Dwayne Dedman. I guess more Orlando Robinson for now. I don't think that that's going to necessarily last, Brian. I'm going in the transaction direction a little bit here. Do you think that the Heat value Nikola Jovic more? And then we're going to take some questions and also any comments, any super chats. We're going to catch up on that here as well. But I'm interested specifically to know if you think that they will be more apt to hold on to Jovic at the deadline or a future first-round draft pick. What do you think the Heat value more at this exact moment?
I hope they don't trade Jovic because I'm somebody who was saying like all season long and who has been saying like he should be playing. He's hurt right now, but he should be playing. And there was a time very early on in the season where you're experimenting at the 4, and I'm like, why can't Jovic just start and play 20 minutes a game, right? Yeah, I'm not trying to trade Jovic in a deal. Now, I mean, like, if you can potentially get somebody serious, which I don't think is going to be available this trade deadline, maybe this summer, but that's another discussion. I don't think that Jovic is going to be on the table necessarily. I'd be a little bit surprised if he was. As far as the picks go, I mean, like, to me, ultimately, what you want is obviously some size, like Alf was saying, like you've been saying, like we've all been saying. And you need, in my opinion, somebody who's on a multi-year deal. That's the key to getting somebody at the trade deadline, because I don't think there's a quick fix to where they can find themselves back in the NBA finals or even the conference finals this season, just the way things have been going, right? Like, I don't know if that without like a good amount of luck that we just don't foresee, or if they're really going to turn this around, like really turn this around second half of the season. I mean, we're talking about them like they're dead in the water. They're not. But again, if you're splitting the East into tiers, tier 1, Boston, Milwaukee, tier 2, Cleveland, Philly, Brooklyn.
Oh no, I think a lot of people would put Brooklyn in tier 1 now.
I'm not there yet. They'll fuck
you're
it up.
Biased.
They'll fuck it up. Somebody's gonna get. Look, we got to see what happens with KD's MRI. Kyrie hasn't had his injury yet. Like, they'll fuck it up. But ultimately, they're not a top 5 team in the Eastern Conference. So, is there a move that's gonna get them there with what they have now? I think that's more likely a summer conversation than it is a midseason conversation. I still think they should do something now, but do something for somebody who's going to be here longer than the 2022-2023 season. Because if you're getting someone just for this season, I don't think that's going to be enough unless you plan on extending them this summer.
Who on this show is not comfortable with the idea of swapping out Kyle Lowry for an expensive front court player and going with the other backcourt guys you have minus Lowry going forward? Who is not in favor of that on this show?
It depends who you're talking about. Like, Yeah, I mean, it depends who you're talking.
The silence said it
all. Look. The reason the Lowry, see, I know everyone's in a rush to trade Kyle Lowry, but like, you could still, even if you keep him beyond February, which I guess is more likely the case, right?
Yeah,
like
it is.
the contract will be there and movable in the summer and probably have more value in the summer because it'll be an expiry. And there's a dude out in LA who cannot be traded until this summer.
The agenda
that you may need the contract in order to make the math work. Okay. That we talked about recently on this show, who just, told The Athletic that he's sort of discontent with what's going on with his organization. Then
I thought you were talking about Robert Covington, not Robert Covington.
Yeah, no, it is not Robert Covington. I was
confused. I was confused.
I do not want Robert Covington, whoever the hell they land. Let it not be him. I want to shout out another sponsor before we wrap this up with some comments, and that is ODM Performance Solutions. Team building is hard. Just ask the city of Miami and the Heat front office this season. ODM Performance Solutions can help you build a winning team and keep it together. If you're looking to fill an important role at your company, ODM Performance Solutions can help you find C-suite level leadership, sales rainmakers, plus management and operational support staff. To find out more, you got to check out odmpsi.com or give them a call at 954-434-0634. Again, that's ODM Performance Solutions, odmpsi.com, 954-434-0634. All right, let's take comments.
Y'all don't want D'Angelo Russell, bro. I've seen that comment already, and I've been seeing that a lot. Yeah. As somebody who covered him with the Nets during his breakout season or whatever the case may be, he's talented. He wouldn't fit.
You like D'Angelo Russell, Al?
He would not fit with Eric Spoelstra.
No, what are we doing? Like, it's just the people are so thirsty for transaction, they just throw bullshit out there. Wait, go get D'Angelo Russell for what? For what? Like, why do you? Whoever was like D'Angelo Russell will put us over the top? No one's ever said that, right? Like Brian's saying, Kyle Lowry, whatever, however you feel about him, I'm fine with Kyle. Like, I don't like, you guys know me. Like, I for the most part, I get upset about games, but I don't lose all rationality just because of one game, one performance. Like, people are like, oh, Bam sucks again. We're going too far with it. So, like, people just want a move for the sake of a move. Like, nobody wants you don't want D'Angelo Russell on your team, right? Like Brian said, Kyle Lowry will be an expiring $30 million contract next year. So whatever you get in return for Kyle Lowry needs to be either really good or you hold on to him till next year. Like, the idea of like the move being, let's get D'Angelo Russell in here to fix shit. Like, what are you talking about? So it's just too much of this move for the sake of a fucking move. Like, I don't know what's happened to like basketball discourse, but it's like we care more about moves and trades and games. Like, it's just, I don't know. It's just, it's disheartening to me, right? It's just like, all right, whatever. Like, D'Angelo Russell, whoop-de-doo. Like, who the fuck cares? Right.
Yeah, it does kind of take the purity of the actual basketball being played and sucks the life out of it a little bit, the transactional stuff. You're right about that. And I know I'm the one that likely is tweeting and talking about that stuff more than anybody.
Good transaction talk. Like, if it makes sense and it's realistic.
Yeah. But just throwing names at the wall.
Just just fucking Photoshop a jersey on anybody, I guess. Like, it's just, I don't know. All right, bring in D'Angelo Russell. I'll root for him too. I don't care.
What other comments we got? Let's see what
probably
else we
won't
got
after
here.
a couple weeks. I'm telling you.
I see Sadiq Bey. That could be an interesting buy low option, but that's just a comment.
He's also super erratic, but like, I mean, he'd be interesting coming off the bench in particular.
I am calculated with things, but I did not give Alf the Highsmith question on purpose. That must be somebody who watches both programs, and we appreciate that. Andre says, small and slow, let's go. My brand of basketball. I don't think anybody feels that way, but it is starting to get a little weird to continue to see guys play out of position and being asked to do more than they should be expected to do. I agree with that.
Yeah.
Javai, is that? I think that's
He's
Javi,
talking about
maybe?
a beef between Lowry and Hero.
Who says that? Oh, we got a beef between Lowry and Hero. I don't think that that's a thing. There's been some clips going around about some communication issues with them in crunch time. I only saw one, It was, and then there's also been like, I guess, footage of them not cheering for each other when the other one makes a good play, but that is the most juvenile stuff to try to dissect. But I thought there was, I guess, there was some play where there was some cold interaction between them. From everything that I've checked in on between the people that I speak with, there's no issues between those two guys that I know of at this time. I think that stuff flares up in a locker room throughout the course of a season, but that's overstated by
grown men arguing. No,
the Twitter streets.
Blow it up.
Van says get Kuz or Markkanen and trade Lowry for Van Vliet. You know, the Lowry reunion story, I could start to push that narrative as well.
I like Kyle. I don't want any more tiny point guards.
As Pat Riley once said, Alf, to your point, I don't like diminutive point guards. That was right before he went and got Tim Hardaway, and it was one of the greatest reclamation projects.
And listen, I like Kyle, but like, okay, when we're done with can we not get another chubby short point guard? Like, I mean, please, for God's sake, can we get somebody over 6'8" on the fucking floor? Sorry, am I allowed to curse on this?
Yeah.
I mean, Brian already definitely is going in that
I'm
direction.
a New Yorker. I can't help it. As a former diminutive point guard, though, I understand. Like, it's
hey, me too.
Yeah.
I'm 5'9".
I'm about the same. A little short.
Eternal, who's always on the broadcast, and we appreciate all the love, says Bamba Turner are stretch bigs that give space. They are. Cost will be an issue.
I was calling for Bamba during the summer.
Everybody's calling for Bamba, and
because
you know what weird because Orlando plays 5 bigs and he still doesn't really play. So then that gets weird to me.
Really quick on Bamba, so we could continue to move forward. But like, all I'm gonna say is that if Spo is able to do what he does with Gabe Vincent, Max Strus, the idea is like, all right, if you get somebody with some pedigree, who's really high level prospect coming out of high school, coming out of college, first round pick, what can he do with him developmental wise? Now, I don't know how Mo Bamba would be between the years in Miami. See somebody that's going to be receptive to all the Heat culture shit and all that. That really matters. But if he's somebody that has some buy-in and really this would be like a second, maybe third chance, I'd give it a shot because it wouldn't cost you much anyway.
Yeah, I don't know. I still think you may need to well, if they think he's just going to walk for nothing, maybe you could get him for less than I expect. But I'm not sure that Mo Bamba is an option, and nor do I think he necessarily catapults this team into any different stratosphere than they're already in. Sean shaking his head. No. Are you getting frustrated by the transaction?
He could be better than Myers Leonard.
Looks like you are.
He could be better than Myers Leonard, though. I do think that.
I just don't think he changes what's the difference? Mo Bamba, what's he going to add? A half a win or maybe a negative? I mean, come on now.
Listen. Anybody not named Dedmon is a huge plus, right? Like,
yeah.
I honestly think
kind of backs that up. Like, if you
know, it really is. Like, there was one point he literally erased everything Bam Adebayo did like Bam was a plus 81 and he was a minus 81. Like, he literally is he erased one of the best players in the league. Like, that's how strong his crappiness has been. Like,
should his nickname be the Mechanic or the Eraser? There's a dad joke thrown up in this joint. Van Lee, Lowry guards bigs better than guard. The acreage with Lowry is helping him guard bigs better than guards.
That's how you know you're toward the end of the line, though. You know, when you're running, like when you're in a rec league. And Sean knows what I'm talking about. When you were once on the perimeter,
and now
when he did that, when freaking Curry blew past him and he did the reach around, try to get a back tip. Yep, that's old man basketball right there. I do that shit all the time. Every Wednesday, I do that right there.
That's true. So we're moving into that era of the Kyle Lowry experience.
Seth Curry beating everybody off the dribble in the fourth quarter was driving me fucking insane.
Yo.
Point of attack defense. What the hell is happening with this group? Now, I understand Caleb Martin is one of the guys that they really count on to do a lot of that. But damn.
Vic had a couple bad possessions defensively as well. To me, honestly, one of the best perimeter defenders in the fourth quarter was actually Tyler. Tyler was really, really strong in that fourth quarter defensively. But Vic got blown by a couple times. Kyle got blown by at least once. Gabe wasn't out there that much. You miss Caleb there, but at the point when you're like, oh man, if we had Caleb, we would have won. Now listen, Like, what are we doing now? You know, the most important thing, they didn't have Kevin Durant. You didn't have Bam. I think it's a different game if those guys are there. But like I said, I mean, you were able to hang with them when everybody was in the game through 3 quarters. It was neck and neck, and that I feel like you can go away feeling pretty good about that.
I tend to agree. I also think that this team is showing life. It's coming in small increments, but they're showing life. The listless play since that game in LA, I felt like they've definitely had better bursts than we saw before. Let's take one more here. Seth Curry is the
let me ask you
epitome of
guys.
dollar
I'm
store
sorry.
Steph, and Lowry still can't guard him. Seth Curry is a good player.
Yeah,
I ain't with the
Lowry-
Steph Curry.
he was
slander.
blown past Victor Oladipo too.
Lowry
so.
is also in year 17.
I do have a
6
question
foot
for you
guard.
guys. I have a question because I was actually talking to Cooper Moorhead on the timeline about this. And as frustrated as we are with the offense, right? Like my biggest thing all year, like people were saying, oh, the defense is good. Like the defense is actually really good. I mean, you just held the highest scoring team in the league to 102 points. The only problem is you score 101. Like it's like they don't score like a modern NBA team. But one of the things where I was talking to Coop about, he said some of the individual leaps that we've seen are actually taking away from the offense we saw last year. There's a lot more dribbling and ISO stuff coming from Bam, right? Bam shoots with 7 left on the shot clock all the time. Vic shoots with 6.54 left on the shot clock all the time. Tyler's doing a lot more in ISO. And then, you have Jimmy doing what Jimmy always does, right? So your top 4, through your top 3 scorers, and lately your top 4, when you include Vic, are all guys that are getting their points outside the flow of any movement kind of offense. It's not like last year where you were spamming DHOs and the Kyle guys of the world are flying all over the place. You're shooting 53s a game. You're setting records night after night of 3-point makes. They've completely gone away from that offense, right? So, but we saw last year that offense did not translate into the playoffs at all. None of those guys, role players, shooting like Steph Curry in the playoffs just doesn't happen, which is why I'm really I can't wait to see what Boston does in the playoffs because, all right, keep hoping Derek White shoots 50% from 3. I dare you, right? But are they setting up an offense that lends to playoff success more than the offense they had last year?
Wow. Now you're going down an interesting road, Alf, because you're so right.
That's
last year
saying. That's what he feels like, and that's where you see some of the clunkiness, right? They're trying to get to something different, and it's a huge departure from last year. But how about if you have 4 bucket getters instead of 1 like you did last year? It doesn't lend to more playoff success.
And you'll have to see also the implications of not having the cushy, and I guess it's not really cushy. I was going to say home court advantage, but they lost game 5 and 7 on their home floor. So you saw that that's not necessarily what it's cracked up to be at all times. I think you bring up an interesting point about that they seemed greater than their sum of their parts last year. And this year they seem less than the sum of the parts, but you're seeing leaps from individual guys. And I think that that's the mind bleep that's taken place to the fan base and what has led to maybe some of the over the top frustration that's boiled over, because you see all these guys. Like I said, I've watched Heat basketball my whole damn life. I'm 40 years old. I've never seen them have 3 20-point per game scorers. They got 3 of them and they ain't winning. That like messes with my brain. And I know that that's counting stats, but that's still just, it's weird to see. So I get it. But
look at
in the
pace.
Playoffs, it's a very interesting concept there.
This is, I mean, they're playing at a playoff type pace, right? Now the problem is, I mean, when you're going in as a play-in team as a 7 seed, you might
got to get out of play.
Yeah, you got to get to 6 at least. But it's an interesting thought process. Like, are they building an offense that actually will work for them in the playoffs?
I love the positive spin. I think that that's how we should close this show. Unless Brian, Sean, do you have any other comments to fire off? Get a word in edgewise here if you need to. Definitely check out our sponsors, Aggressive Insurance. That's insurancebyLynette.com. Prize Picks, use the code 5, and ODMPSI.com, ODM Performance Solutions. But Brian, Sean, any final words?
Yeah, I think just to add on to what Elf said, I think he makes a really good point. And you don't necessarily have to go to either or. You can run those off ball actions, DHOs, and things like that from 18 in the shot clock down to that 7 point or 8 point that you was talking about. And now instead of being like, all right, Jimmy, get the ball. All right, bail us out. Now you got Jimmy, Bam, Depot, Tyler. You got multiple options that when it gets down to that 6, 7, 8 seconds left, now you got to make something happen because your previous actions didn't work. Now you got multiple options. So I think that's a really good way to look at it, that it may be clunky. You just hope that that clunkiness starts to kind of balance out a little bit.
Yeah, and just you don't need to pound the ball for 12 seconds, right? Like that's what's killing them. Like someone was saying how their shot quality is amazing. Sure it is. It just takes so damn long to get to the shot is the problem. I mean, like I watched, there was 2 or 3 different possessions where Vic and Hero bring the ball down and don't make a single pass and still shoot with 3, 4, 5 seconds left on the shot clock. So you just dribbled for 20 seconds by yourself. Like, come on, I understand it, but it's like you got to push the pace.
Yeah, and I think the ball movement is going to be key. I want to see if that's something that gets established in the second half of the season, because when they looked their best, they were moving the ball. It was flowing, it was popping. Shooters were getting involved early in the shot clock, to Al's point. They were hitting shots. They were in better rhythm also. That's something that probably we don't talk about enough this season, is that like while the shooters are missing, they're also getting shitty looks a lot of the times. And a lot of these are getting hoisted up late in the shot clock. And that's something that needs to be cleaned up. And if you remember in March, when they had their infamous, dust up, whatever we want to call it, at the bench, and people were going at each other's throats or whatever, the offense around that time was getting really stagnant. And it wasn't popping the way it was. And then they ended up fixing it. And then they went to the playoffs and did what they did. So for me, like, we'll see what happens now, because you have Oklahoma City coming up. I mean, if you don't win that game at home, then the next post-game show might be a doozy. And then after that, though, you have, and this is perfect. You have 2 home games against Milwaukee, back to back. There's a day of rest in between them, but you have 2 home games against Milwaukee, I believe on the 12th and 14th. And then you have January 15th. And I feel like those 2 games are going to be pretty indicative of what's to come after. So we'll see what happens.
And just since y'all have heard dates floating around, January 15th is when basically the entire league will now be eligible to be traded unless you have a no trade clause or otherwise rules are preventing you from being traded. But guys like Dwayne Dedman will be available to be traded on 1/15. And then also to back up a bit towards the beginning of the show, 2/9 is the date to watch for the trade deadline. February 9th is the deadline. So to the point of an earlier comment on this program, we're about a month out. So you're going to start to hear more of what will actually be viable. We will keep you updated on that. Thank you for joining us on this show. Ethan, Brady, and Alex have you at the arena. Thank you to Sean, Brian, and Alf for joining us. It's always dope to be back on a show with Alf. I will definitely be making an appearance back on Hangover Time sometime in the near future as well. Peace out. Sorry the Heat lost, but we'll be back to
It's not your fault,
cover the rest of the homestand. Peace.